Hey everyone, I'm here to help you relax and drift off tonight. If you enjoy using these videos to fall asleep, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more calming content. Share where you're watching from and what time it is for you. I'd love to know. Now settle into a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's start unwinding together. High above the valley where jagged peaks cut through the early morning mists, legends of the luminous cavern had been passed down through generations. Local elders recounted how, in days long past, the mountain was believed to be the resting place of celestial secrets. Some said that the cave was created when a fallen star crashed into the earth, its cosmic energy infusing the stone with a glow that bridged the gap between worlds. Others believed that it was a sacred gateway, a threshold to a realm of light and wonder that existed parallel to our own. Among the curious was a young explorer named Eric, whose heart burned with a yearning to uncover the mysteries hidden in the mountain's depths. Eric had grown up on the tales of old, and the legends of the luminous cavern stirred his imagination. Determined to witness this marvel firsthand, he gathered his maps and tools, and with a blend of trepidation and excitement, set off on a journey that would change his life. Eric's journey led him through a rugged landscape of rocky trails, dense forests, and cascading streams. As he ascended the winding paths, the air grew crisp, and the natural beauty of the mountains revealed itself in bursts of vibrant wildflowers and ancient pines. Yet even amid the serene splendor, an undercurrent of mystery pulsed through the land, a sense that every step brought him closer to an encounter with the unknown. After days of arduous travel, Eric reached the outskirts of a secluded glen where nature and time seemed to blend into one. There, partially hidden by a thicket of climbing vines and moss-laden stones, he discovered the entrance to the luminous cavern. The opening was narrow, almost as if it were a secret kept by the earth itself, beckoning him to step inside. With a deep breath to steady his resolve, Eric crossed the threshold, leaving the familiar light of day behind. The air inside the cave was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of earth and ancient minerals. At first, Eric's only guide was the beam of his lantern, its weak light casting trembling shadows against the rough-hewn walls. But as he ventured deeper, the darkness began to give way to a soft, ethereal glow that seemed to originate from the very stone surrounding him. The light was unlike anything he had ever seen. It shimmered in hues of silver and blue, undulating as if alive. The cavern walls were adorned with crystalline formations that refracted the radiance into countless delicate prisms. Every step revealed new wonders, mineral pools that glowed with an inner fire, ancient petroglyphs etched into the rock by unknown hands, and delicate stalactites that sparkled like the threads of a vast cosmic tapestry. Eric felt as if he had stepped into a realm where time itself was suspended, a place where the ordinary laws of nature no longer applied, and every moment was imbued with a sense of the miraculous. Guided by the mesmerizing luminescence, Eric followed a narrow passage that wound deeper into the mountain. The further he traveled, the more the glow intensified, until at last he arrived at the heart of the cavern, a vast, cathedral-like chamber that defied description. Here the ceiling soared into darkness, but the cavern floor was awash with a radiant light that seemed to pulse in sync with the rhythm of his own heartbeat. In the center of the chamber lay a crystalline pool, its surface perfectly still and reflecting the luminous glow as if it were a mirror into another realm. Surrounding the pool, intricate formations of quartz and other gemstones formed natural sculptures, their facets capturing the light in dazzling displays. It was here that Eric encountered the true wonder of the luminous cavern, a phenomenon that transcended the mere play of light on stone. As he approached the pool, the gentle ripple of the water seemed to speak in a language older than words. Eric knelt by its edge, transfixed by the sight of swirling colors that danced across the surface. In that moment, the light deepened, and a subtle warmth radiated from the pool, as though it contained the very essence of life. The beauty was overwhelming, evoking feelings of both profound serenity and a mysterious, beckoning energy. Unbeknownst to Arik, he was not alone in the luminous chamber. Hidden among the shimmering formations, a presence stirred, a guardian of the ancient light that had long watched over the cavern. Manifesting gradually from the interplay of glow and shadow, a figure emerged that was at once ethereal and commanding. Draped in robes that seemed woven from strands of light itself, the guardian possessed eyes that glowed with wisdom beyond mortal understanding. The guardian introduced herself as Leora, the keeper of the cavern's eternal flame. With a voice that resonated like the gentle murmur of 1,000 streams, she explained that the luminous cavern was a sacred repository of the Earth's memory, a convergence point where cosmic energy, ancient magic, and the spirit of nature intertwined. Leora revealed that the cavern's glow was not simply a physical phenomenon, but a manifestation of a deep, abiding connection between the realms of the material and the spiritual. She told Arik of the cavern's origin, a time when the world was young and the forces of nature still sang in harmony with the stars. It was during that primordial era that a cosmic event, a shower of celestial light, had imbued the cave with a spark of otherworldly energy. Ever since, the cavern had been a beacon of hope and renewal, its light serving as a reminder of the beauty and mystery of creation. Leora also warned Arik that the cavern's power was both a blessing and a burden. The light could heal and inspire, but it also demanded respect and balance. Those who sought to exploit its magic for selfish ends risked unleashing forces that could upset the delicate harmony of the natural world. Her gentle gaze fell upon Arik, and in that moment he understood that his presence in the cavern was no mere accident. It was part of a larger tapestry of fate. Over the ensuing days, Arik remained within the cavern under Leora's gentle tutelage. She taught him to listen to the silent language of the stones, to perceive the subtle interplay of light and energy that resonated throughout the cavern. Under her guidance, Arik learned to meditate by the crystalline pool, allowing its luminous energy to wash over him and reveal hidden truths about his own inner self. He discovered that the cavern's light could heal wounds, both physical and emotional, and that it had the power to awaken dormant potentials. In quiet moments of introspection, Arik experienced vivid visions of ancient times, of rituals performed under starlit skies, and of generations of people who had found solace and inspiration in the glow of the cave. Each vision was a thread in the rich tapestry of life, a reminder that every being was connected through the shared experiences of love, loss, hope, and wonder. In return for these profound lessons, Arik dedicated himself to preserving the sanctity of the cavern. Together with Leora, he meticulously recorded the cave's secrets, ensuring that future generations might learn from its timeless wisdom. They mapped the intricate network of passages, documented the properties of its glowing minerals, and inscribed the ancient petroglyphs that adorned its walls. Their work became a testament to the enduring magic of the luminous cavern, a legacy of knowledge that transcended the confines of time. Despite the sanctuary and enlightenment he found within the cavern, Arik's heart yearned to share its wonders with the outside world. Leora, understanding the call of destiny that beckoned him, explained that the lessons of the luminous cavern were not meant to be hoarded in solitude. The light was a universal language, meant to bridge the gap between disparate lives and awaken the dormant magic within every soul. With Leora's blessing, Arik emerged from the cavern into the bright light of day, forever changed by his experiences within the mountain's heart. He returned to his village, carrying with him both the tangible relics of his journey, a handful of luminescent crystals carefully wrapped in ancient cloth, and the intangible treasures of wisdom, healing, and hope. His return was met with wonder and skepticism in equal measure. But as he shared his story and the lessons he had learned, hearts began to open and eyes to see beyond the mundane. Eric established a small sanctuary near the base of the mountain, a place where people could come to experience the healing glow of the crystals and learn about the delicate balance between nature and magic. The sanctuary became a center for artists, philosophers, and seekers of truth. Stories of the luminous cavern spread far and wide, inspiring travelers and scholars to embark on pilgrimages in search of that otherworldly light. Years passed, and the sanctuary flourished into a vibrant community united by a shared reverence for the mysteries of life. Arik, now a wise elder, continued to guide those who sought the healing power of the luminous crystals and the timeless lessons of the cavern. He would often recall his days in the depths of the mountain, sitting by the crystalline pool and listening to the soft, eternal hum of the earth's memory. In the twilight of his years, Arik composed a manuscript, a detailed chronicle of his journey, the teachings of Leora, and the profound transformations he had witnessed. The manuscript, filled with poetic reflections, intricate sketches of the cavern's luminescent formations, and carefully inscribed wisdom, became a treasured text among those who believed in the power of nature's hidden wonders. Children grew up hearing the tale of the luminous cavern, their imaginations ignited by the story of a cave that glowed with an eternal, otherworldly light. Families would make pilgrimages to the sanctuary, and scholars debated the origins of the light. Was it truly a remnant of celestial energy, or the manifestation of something far deeper within the fabric of the earth? The mystery endured, a reminder that some questions are meant to inspire wonder rather than to be answered. In the quiet moments before dawn, when the world was draped in the soft hues of a new day, the legacy of the luminous cavern shone brightest. The sanctuary thrived as a beacon of hope, its luminescent crystals a constant reminder of the magic that resided both in the natural world and within every human heart. Arik's manuscript was passed down through generations, each reader finding within its pages a spark of inspiration and the courage to seek out the mysteries that lay hidden in the world. Leora, the guardian of light, remained ever vigilant within the cavern, her presence a silent promise that the delicate interplay between darkness and luminescence would endure. The cave's otherworldly glow continued to pulse through the mountain, a living testament to the eternal bond between the earth and the cosmos. And so, the tale of the cave that glowed with an otherworldly light was woven into the tapestry of human lore, a story of discovery, transformation, and the timeless quest to find light in even the darkest corners of existence. Thus, as the sun rose over the ancient peaks and the stars faded into the promise of a new day, the luminous cavern continued to whisper its secrets to those who were willing to listen. A quiet, radiant reminder that the magic of the world is eternal and that sometimes the most profound illumination comes from venturing deep into the unknown. The cottage, known by locals as the Hearth of Hours, had stood for as long as anyone could remember. Its weathered facade, draped in climbing ivy and crowned with a roof of ancient slate, spoke of countless seasons that had passed. Yet one feature stood out among all its venerable elements: an unassuming window on the eastern wall. Unlike other windows that revealed the current state of the outside world, this window offered something inexplicable. It reflected a different time of day entirely. During the crisp mornings of autumn, when the town awoke under a rosy sunrise, the window might instead reveal the mellow glow of late afternoon. On balmy summer evenings, when the sky blazed with the hues of dusk, the glass would shimmer with the cool, silvery light of midnight. Villagers speculated that this magical window was not merely an architectural anomaly, but a doorway to memories, alternate realities, or even a glimpse of destiny. Nora, a young woman with a restless spirit and an insatiable curiosity, arrived in town one fog-laden evening. Having heard the hushed tales of the mystical window, she found herself drawn to the hearth of hours. Nora was no stranger to the mysteries of time. She had spent years studying ancient lore and local legends, seeking to unravel the threads that bound past and present. With her notebooks filled with sketches and observations, she approached the cottage with both trepidation and wonder. Stepping over the threshold, Nora was immediately struck by the juxtaposition of the familiar and the fantastical. The cottage's interior was a tapestry of memories: worn wooden floors, a fireplace that crackled with the warmth of countless stories, and walls adorned with sepia-toned photographs of generations past. Yet what caught her attention was the window. It beckoned her with its subtle glow, inviting her to peer beyond the veneer of the ordinary. Nora spent that first night sitting by the window, her eyes fixed on the ever-changing scene within the glass. Though outside the midnight hour reigned with quiet darkness, the window bathed her in the gentle light of an early afternoon, a time when the world was alive with possibility. As the minutes ticked by, she felt an inexplicable pull, as though the window was whispering secrets of time lost and futures yet to come. Over the next few days, Nora dedicated herself to studying the window's peculiar behavior. She observed that on rainy mornings, while the town was shrouded in a veil of damp gloom, the window might reflect a sun-drenched noon. When the sky outside was heavy with clouds, the glass might show the clear, crisp brilliance of early morning. Each time she looked, the window offered a narrative of time that was at once both a mirror and a storyteller. Local villagers began to share their own encounters with the window. Mr. Alden, the elderly watchmaker whose eyes had witnessed the ebb and flow of decades, recalled how, as a child, he had seen the window glow with the soft hues of twilight during the bitter cold of winter mornings. Young Liam, whose dreams were filled with the wonder of his small world, spoke of how the window would sometimes reflect the vibrant energy of a bustling afternoon, even when he was tucked away in bed at dawn. Their accounts, rich with nostalgia and hope, painted the window as a keeper of moments, moments that transcended the linear progression of time. Nora began recording these testimonies, her notebooks gradually filling with detailed sketches and written recollections. She speculated that the window might be more than a mere artifact. It could be a living chronicle, capturing the dreams and longings of those who gazed into it. Perhaps it was a relic from an era when time was not measured solely by hours and minutes, but by experiences and emotions. One stormy evening, as thunder rumbled in the distance and rain pelted the cottage's roof, Nora sat before the window with a determined glint in her eyes. The glass, ever the enigma, now reflected the golden, dappled light of a serene afternoon. With each flash of lightning, she noticed subtle shifts in the scene. A passing carriage on a cobbled street, the silhouette of a lone traveler under a sprawling oak, a glimpse of laughter shared in a sunlit courtyard. The images were both fleeting and vivid, like fragments of a long-forgotten dream. In that charged atmosphere, something remarkable occurred. The window's glow intensified, as if reacting to Nora's inner yearning for understanding. As she reached out to touch the cool surface of the glass, a sensation akin to a gentle tug on her soul enveloped her. In a heartbeat, she found herself no longer in the quiet cottage, but standing in a lively town square, bathed in the soft glow of an afternoon sun. The world around her was simultaneously familiar and alien. A bustling market filled with vendors in period attire, children chasing each other with laughter echoing in the air, and a gentle breeze carrying the scent of freshly baked bread. Nora realized with a mixture of awe and disbelief that she had stepped into the very time reflected by the window. The window was not just showing another time of day, it was a portal, a passageway through the tapestry of time itself. Nora wandered through the town, absorbing every detail with wide-eyed wonder. She observed the elegant simplicity of a bygone era, where the pace of life was measured by the rhythm of nature rather than the relentless tick of modern clocks. Each moment was savored, and every interaction carried the weight of genuine connection. As she meandered through the streets, Nora encountered a young man named Julian, whose eyes held the quiet wisdom of someone who had lived both in the past and within his own reveries about the future. Julian explained that he, too, had experienced the mysterious pull of the window years before. He recounted how, on countless occasions, he had caught glimpses of times that were not his own, times filled with joy, sorrow, love, and loss. For Julian, the window was a mirror of the soul, reflecting the myriad facets of human existence. Together, they strolled through cobblestone alleys, sharing stories of hopes and regrets, marveling at the intertwining of moments that seemed to defy the conventional flow of time. As the sun began its descent, casting elongated shadows that danced on the ancient walls, Julian led Nora to a grand clock tower at the heart of the town. "Time here is not a tyrant," he whispered, "but a gentle guide. The window shows us that every moment, whether past or future, has its own beauty and significance." In that moment, Nora felt an overwhelming sense of belonging, a connection that transcended the boundaries of time and space. Yet as the days turned into weeks, Nora discovered that such journeys were not without their perils. Every time she stepped through the window, the delicate balance of time was disturbed. With each crossing, subtle changes rippled through her own existence. A fading memory here, an unexpected emotion there. The more she explored the myriad epochs reflected by the window, the more she began to feel a pull towards a destiny that she had not chosen. One fateful day, after returning from a particularly vivid sojourn into a radiant morning long past, Nora awoke to find her world altered in small but unsettling ways. Familiar faces in town now carried hints of experiences she did not recall sharing with them, and even the cottage itself seemed to whisper secrets in the creaks of its wooden floors. In her notebooks, the lines between her documented journeys and her current reality began to blur. The window, it appeared, was weaving its own narrative, a tapestry where the past, present, and future coexisted in a fragile, unpredictable harmony. Haunted by the possibility that her interventions in time might have consequences she could not fathom, Nora confided in Julian. Together, they pored over ancient texts and local lore, seeking wisdom in the words of those who had once encountered similar enigmas. They learned that the window was a relic of a forgotten age, a time when the fabric of reality was woven with threads of magic, love, and memory. To tamper too deeply with that fabric, however, risked unraveling the delicate balance between fate and free will. Faced with the weight of her discoveries, Nora resolved to find a way to restore equilibrium. She realized that the window's power was not meant to be a tool for escapism, but rather a reminder of the beauty inherent in every passing moment. With renewed determination, she and Julian embarked on a quest to seek out the origins of the window. Their journey took them to ancient ruins, hidden libraries, and the secret sanctuaries of elders who still remembered the old ways. In one such sanctuary, deep within a forgotten forest, they encountered a venerable sage named Marcellus. With eyes that seemed to reflect the entirety of time, Marcellus explained that the window was forged during an era when humanity still revered the passage of time as a sacred, cyclical dance. "It is both a blessing and a burden," he intoned. "To see another time is to glimpse the infinite tapestry of existence. But one must tread lightly, for each moment you alter can echo through the corridors of eternity." Armed with this knowledge, Nora and Julian began to repair the delicate strands of fate that had been inadvertently disturbed. They returned to the hearth of hours and, with Marcellus's ancient incantations echoing in their hearts, performed a ritual before the window. In that solemn act, they reaffirmed their respect for the natural order of time and vowed to honor every moment as it came. Slowly, the reflections in the window began to shift once more. No longer wild and unpredictable, but serene and harmonious with the present. In the weeks that followed, life in the town resumed its gentle rhythm. The window continued to display its wondrous duality, a constant interplay between the time outside and the alternate hour within the glass. Yet now, the citizens of the town had come to understand its true meaning. It was not a portal to escape reality, but a mirror that urged them to cherish every fleeting second. In the soft light of early morning or the languid glow of a late afternoon, the window reminded them that every moment was imbued with magic and possibility. Nora, having learned the delicate art of balancing wonder with responsibility, dedicated herself to sharing this newfound wisdom. She held gatherings by the window where people of all ages would come to meditate on their own journeys through time. They shared stories of loss and joy, of dreams realized and opportunities missed, and in the communion of their experiences, they found solace and strength. Julian, too, became a steadfast guide, his gentle presence a beacon for those navigating the intricate pathways of memory and destiny. Together, Nora and Julian chronicled the town's evolving relationship with the window. Their writings, filled with poetic reflections, detailed observations, and heartfelt accounts, became treasured manuscripts that were passed down through generations. The window, with its ever-shifting view of time, stood as a testament to the idea that while the past and future are vast and mysterious, the present is where life truly unfolds. Years later, as dusk settled over the quaint town, and the window once again revealed the soft, golden light of a long-ago afternoon, Nora sat by its frame with a quiet smile. She reflected on all that had transpired, the wondrous journeys, the bittersweet cost of altering time, and the ultimate realization that every moment, whether lived or glimpsed through a mystical pain, was a gift to be cherished. In the gentle interplay of light and shadow that danced upon the glass, she saw the essence of life itself, an endless cycle of beginnings and endings, of memories interwoven with hope. The window, with its unique power to reflect a different time of day, had taught the townspeople that time is not a rigid line, but a fluid, living tapestry. It had shown them that to truly live is to embrace every moment, whether it glows with the promise of morning, the fervor of noon, or the calm of twilight. As the stars emerged in the velvet sky and the town settled into a peaceful slumber, the window continued its silent vigil, a timeless sentinel bridging eras, inviting all who looked upon it to remember that within the shifting hues of each day lay the eternal, unchanging truth of the human spirit. Thus the legend of the window that reflected a different time of day endured, a cherished tale passed down from one generation to the next, a story of wonder, of the delicate balance between past, present, and future, and of the everlasting beauty found in every moment. High upon a misty hillside, framed by ancient oak trees and delicate ivy, lay a wrought iron gate rusted with the passage of time, yet imbued with an undeniable allure. Many had heard the myth of the eternal garden, a place where sorrow and decay held no dominion, and where every bloom was an ode to hope. Few believed the stories until a young wanderer named Eliana, guided by both fate and a quiet longing for wonder, discovered the gate concealed behind a veil of emerald vines. With trembling hands and a heart full of quiet determination, Eliana pushed the gate open. Beyond lay a narrow, winding path lined with stones worn smooth by countless generations. Sunlight danced through the canopy, illuminating clusters of wildflowers that sparkled with dew. The air was perfumed with the mingled scents of jasmine, rose, and a myriad of unnamed blossoms, a symphony of fragrances that whispered promises of eternal beauty. As Eliana ventured deeper, each step seemed to dissolve the burdens of her past, replacing them with a serene curiosity about the mysteries awaiting her. In the heart of the garden, amidst a sea of color and light, stood a majestic pavilion adorned with intricate carvings of vines and petals. Here lived the keeper, a gentle soul known as Sylvan, whose eyes held the deep wisdom of centuries, and whose presence exuded an almost palpable calm. Sylvan was not bound by the conventions of time. He was as much a part of the garden as the ancient trees and the ever-blooming flowers themselves. When Eliana first met Sylvan, he was tending to a bed of silver orchids that shimmered in the morning light. With a voice soft and resonant like the murmur of a gentle brook, he explained the garden's secret. Centuries ago, a rare convergence of cosmic energies and earthly magic had imbued the soil with a blessing so profound that no flower could ever fade. The garden was a living tapestry of nature's eternal resilience, a testament to the beauty that arises when passion, art, and magic intertwine. Sylvan shared with her the story of how the garden had once been a barren stretch of land, desolate and forgotten, until a wise and compassionate alchemist had discovered an ancient elixir deep within the earth. This elixir, when sprinkled upon the withered seeds of hope, transformed them into blossoms of unfading light. And so the garden was reborn, a miracle nurtured by love and the relentless spirit of renewal. Each corner of the garden revealed wonders beyond imagination. There were rose bushes whose scarlet petals shimmered with an inner light, lilies that floated gracefully on tranquil ponds, and clusters of tiny bluebells that sang soft melodies in the breeze. Birds with iridescent feathers soared overhead, their songs harmonizing with the whispering leaves. Every flower, every leaf, and every dewdrop was a brushstroke on nature's eternal canvas. Eliana spent countless days wandering through this magical landscape. She observed how the blossoms moved as if in a gentle dance, a ballet choreographed by the whisper of the wind. At dawn, the garden greeted the rising sun with a vibrant burst of colors, and at dusk, the flowers glowed under the soft light of a silvery moon. There was a sense of perpetual celebration, as if each moment was a festival of life, unburdened by the constraints of time or decay. In one secluded nook, Eliana discovered a circular clearing where a mosaic of petals formed a natural pattern, telling a story in colors and shapes. Here the petals of every flower converged, interlacing to create images of long-forgotten legends and symbols of hope. It was here she realized that the garden was not merely a sanctuary of eternal beauty, but also a living chronicle, a narrative of all the lives, dreams, and aspirations that had ever found solace in its embrace. Yet as with every story of wonder, the garden's eternal bloom was not without its trials. The secret of the garden was known to few, and in the shadows of the outside world, those who craved to harness such magic for selfish ends had begun to stir. Rumors of a miraculous land reached the ears of a powerful magnate, Lord Caradoc, whose ambition was matched only by his desire for control. Lord Caradoc, a man of wealth and ruthless determination, believed that by seizing the garden's secret, he could wield its magic to extend his own life and command nature's forces. He dispatched envoys to locate the fabled haven, and soon his dark entourage arrived at the outskirts of the valley, armed with contraptions and devices meant to capture the essence of the eternal blooms. Forewarned by the murmurs of the wind and the secret whispers of the flowers, Sylvan and Eliana prepared to defend the garden. They gathered the community of the enchanted forest, spirits of the trees, guardians of the streams, and even the ancient stones that formed the paths. Together they wove a tapestry of resistance, determined to preserve the garden's sanctity and the timeless beauty that lay within. In a clash of light and shadow beneath the canopy of ancient trees, Lord Caradoc's forces encroached upon the garden. The earth trembled as nature itself seemed to rise in defense. Vines coiled around invaders, gentle breezes transformed into swirling gusts, and the blossoms, though silent, radiated an energy that spoke of unity and resilience. Eliana, her heart filled with the power of the garden, stepped forward, her voice echoing like a sacred hymn. This is the realm of endless renewal, a haven for every dreamer and every soul seeking refuge from the fleeting nature of time. As the confrontation reached its peak, the garden unveiled its most guarded secret. From the very soil rose a luminous, pulsating bloom, a flower unlike any other, radiating light and energy with a brilliance that outshone even the midday sun. The eternal blossom, as it would come to be known, was the heart of the garden, its petals a symbol of unwavering hope and resilience. Confronted by the sheer, undeniable magic of the eternal blossom, Lord Caradoc's ambitions crumbled. His forces, overwhelmed by the garden's power and the unity of its guardians, were forced to retreat into the shadowy corners of the world from which they had come. In the aftermath of the confrontation, peace settled over the garden once more. The victory was not one of domination, but of understanding, a reaffirmation that true beauty and magic reside not in the control of nature, but in the harmonious coexistence with it. The garden's legacy was now secured, its eternal blooms a symbol for all who believed in the possibility of renewal and the strength found in nature's gentle persistence. Eliana chose to remain in the garden, her destiny now intertwined with its eternal rhythm. Under Sylvan's guidance, she learned the ancient lore of the blossoms, the art of listening to the language of petals, and the secret songs of the wind. She became a caretaker of the enchanted realm, a guardian whose compassion and wisdom nurtured not only the flowers, but also the hearts of those who sought refuge in the garden's embrace. Over time, new visitors began to find their way to the Garden of Eternal Blossoms. Poets, artists, and travelers arrived drawn by the promise of unending beauty and the hope that transcended the passage of time. Each visitor left with a spark of inspiration, a renewed belief in the possibility that life's most profound wonders were eternal if only one was willing to look beyond the surface. Festivals were held beneath the boughs of ancient trees, where songs and stories intertwined with the rustling of leaves. At twilight, as the garden bathed in the soft hues of dusk, the eternal blossom would unfurl its magnificent petals, casting a gentle glow that reminded everyone of the promise of tomorrow. And in that soft, everlasting light, every soul found solace, a quiet assurance that, no matter the trials faced in the waking world, there existed a haven where beauty, hope, and the relentless power of nature would never fade. Generations passed, and the legend of the Garden of Eternal Blossoms grew into a timeless tale, a myth that transcended borders and eras. In distant lands, bards and storytellers recounted the saga of a garden where flowers defied decay, where every petal held the promise of renewal, and where the eternal dance of nature whispered secrets of hope and resilience. Eliana's name became synonymous with compassion and stewardship, her life a testament to the transformative power of nature's magic. In quiet moments, when the wind carried the fragrance of everlasting blooms, those who wandered near the hidden valley could almost hear her gentle voice, urging them to remember that every end was but a prelude to a new beginning. Thus, the Garden of Eternal Blossoms endured as a beacon of hope, a reminder that in the heart of every living thing lies an eternal spark. It was a sanctuary where the ephemeral met the everlasting, where sorrow was healed by beauty, and where every blossom, untouched by the ravages of time, stood as a symbol of the human spirit's unyielding quest for love, renewal, and the everlasting dream of a better tomorrow. Ibn Hollow's legend began long before its citizens could recall. Elders spoke of an ancient curse that had fallen over the town centuries ago, a curse forged during a time of strife and sorrow. According to whispered lore, a grieving sorcerer, cast out by a heartless society, had cursed the town as he left, vowing that the darkness of his despair would one day rise and reclaim its lost identity. And so, over generations, the shadows began to stir. At first, the phenomenon was subtle. Residents noticed that their shadows would linger a moment longer than the rest of them, as if hesitant to merge with their masters. At dusk, when the last sliver of sunlight faded, the silhouettes seemed to twitch at the edges, dancing in patterns that defied natural order. It was during these twilight hours that some claimed the shadows spoke in hushed voices, a language of forgotten dreams and lost time. The superstitious residents locked their doors and whispered prayers to ward off the enigmatic presence. Yet no remedy could dispel the persistent murmur of living darkness. The shadows in Ebon Hollow were peculiar in their nature. They were not malevolent beings outright, but they were capricious, mischievous, and often sorrowful. They roamed freely through the narrow streets at night, sometimes mimicking their owners with eerie precision, and at other times detaching themselves to explore hidden corners of the town. Some shadows were playful, twirling and leaping as if inviting onlookers to join a spectral ballet. Others were somber, trailing behind like mournful guardians, their elongated forms hinting at secrets long buried. One of the town's oldest residents, Old Marta, claimed that the shadows were the physical manifestations of every suppressed memory and unspoken longing. "They carry the weight of our regrets," she would say, her voice trembling with both fear and reverence. "In the dark, they seek release, an echo of the souls we hide within ourselves." Her words, though cryptic, resonated deeply with those who had witnessed the uncanny behaviors of their own shadow. Among the town's inhabitants was a curious child named Emery, whose wide eyes and boundless imagination led him to question everything around him. Unlike many who shrank from the dark, Emery was enchanted by it. He spent endless evenings watching as his shadow stretched and contorted, its form flickering like a living tapestry on the walls of his modest home. One crisp autumn night, Emery followed his shadow as it slipped silently from the back door, venturing into the mist-laden streets. In the cool darkness, Emery discovered that his shadow could lead him to places no one else dared to explore. It guided him to the old town square, where the ancient stone fountain lay forgotten. There, amid the pooling water and the rustle of fallen leaves, the shadows gathered in a silent congregation. Emery watched in awe as the silhouettes moved of their own accord, circling the fountain as if performing an otherworldly ritual. In that moment, the child understood that the shadows were not merely reflections of their owners. They were an independent force, a silent collective with a life of its own. Word of Ebon Hollow's strange phenomenon eventually reached the ears of Lucian Blackwood, a renowned scholar of the arcane. Drawn by both academic curiosity and a personal fascination with the interplay of light and dark, Lucian arrived in the town to uncover its mysteries. With a collection of ancient tomes and instruments designed to capture the minutest flicker of energy, he set up a modest laboratory in a creaking mansion on the town's outskirts. Lucian's investigations revealed peculiar energy signatures emanating from the shadows, patterns that defied conventional physics. He theorized that the shadows were remnants of an ancient magic, a form of energy born from the collective sorrows and suppressed desires of Ebon Hollow's people. By day, the town existed as any other, governed by the mundane rhythms of daily life. But at night, when the weight of history pressed upon the present, the suppressed emotions and memories manifested as living darkness. Night after night, Lucian recorded the movements and interactions of the shadows. He observed that they communicated through subtle shifts in shape and intensity, forming patterns that hinted at messages from the past. One evening, while deciphering a particularly complex sequence near the old clock tower, Lucian was startled to see a shadow break away from its owner. It floated freely, pausing in midair before forming a delicate outline of a hand reaching upward. Lucian's instruments hummed with energy as he captured this anomaly, convinced that it was a deliberate message, a silent plea for recognition and release. As winter cloaked Ebon Hollow in a blanket of frost and silence, the interplay between light and shadow grew ever more intense. The town seemed to pulsate with an almost tangible anticipation, as if every resident, knowingly or not, was waiting for an inevitable reckoning. In hushed gatherings at the local inn, townsfolk exchanged anxious theories. Some believed that the shadows were harbingers of a great change, while others whispered of an impending catastrophe. Yet amidst the uncertainty, one idea began to take hold. The shadows yearned for understanding and acceptance. A council was convened, a meeting of the town's elders, scholars, and even a few brave young souls. At the center of the gathering sat Emery, now a thoughtful pre-teen whose early encounters with his shadow had transformed him. With a steady voice that belied his age, Emery suggested that perhaps the shadows were not enemies, but misunderstood reflections of the human condition. They mirror our hidden selves, he said. They remind us that every darkness within us deserves a moment of acknowledgement, a chance to be seen. The council debated long into the night, their voices echoing in the ancient stone hall. In the end, they resolved to embrace the phenomenon rather than fear it. With Lucian Blackwood's guidance, they devised a plan to interact directly with the shadows, to learn from them, and in doing so, to heal the wounds of the past. On the eve of the winter solstice, a night traditionally celebrated as a time of renewal and reflection, the entire town gathered in the central square. The air was crisp and electric, filled with a quiet determination. Lanterns cast soft, golden glows against the snowy backdrop, and the full moon watched from above as an ancient silent witness. At the stroke of midnight, a hush fell over the crowd. Lucian stepped forward, holding aloft a silver mirror etched with cryptic symbols, a relic believed to bridge the gap between the tangible and the ethereal. Tonight, he proclaimed, we seek to converse with the shadows, not as enemies, but as a part of ourselves. As his words drifted into the frosty air, the assembled citizens braced themselves. Slowly, one by one, the shadows began to detach from their owners and coalesce before the crowd, forming a swirling mosaic of darkness. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause. The mirror in Lucian's hand caught the moonlight and refracted it in dazzling patterns, casting dancing shapes upon the gathered shadows. Then, as if in response to the silent invitation, the shadows began to speak. Not in words, but in gentle, rhythmic pulses of light and dark. They swirled around the townspeople, weaving delicate patterns that hinted at forgotten memories, lost loves, and unspoken regrets. An elderly woman stepped forward, her eyes glistening with tears. I see my past here, she murmured, pointing to a particular tendril of shadow that seemed to carry the faint outline of a long-lost friend. Others followed, each receiving a silent acknowledgement of their inner truths. Emery, his face alight with wonder, watched as his own shadow morphed into a figure of laughter and play, reclaiming the innocence of his childhood. The moment was transformative. In that magical twilight, the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual dissolved. The shadows, far from being malevolent forces, became mirrors reflecting the town's collective soul. Every sorrow was met with compassion, every regret with gentle understanding. The townsfolk learned to see their darkness as a part of themselves, one that, when acknowledged, could lead to healing and renewal. In the days that followed that fateful winter solstice, Ebon Hollow underwent a profound transformation. The meeting had left an indelible mark on its people. The shadows, once a source of dread, were now regarded as a vital part of the town's identity. Lucian documented every detail of that miraculous night, his writings now serving as a guide for future generations on how to embrace the entirety of one's being, the light and the dark. The town's artists and musicians were particularly inspired. Painters captured the ethereal beauty of the dancing shadows in vivid portraits that adorned the walls of local galleries, while poets and songwriters composed ballads celebrating the unity of spirit and darkness. A festival was established in honor of the solstice, a yearly celebration where the citizens of Ebon Hollow would come together to share stories, sing songs of hope, and remember that every shadow held a fragment of their soul. Even as seasons changed and the frosty grip of winter gave way to the gentle warmth of spring, the lessons of that night endured. Neighbors began to support one another more openly, sharing both joys and sorrows with a newfound empathy. In quiet moments, when dusk settled over the town, people would pause to watch as their shadows stretched out behind them, reminders of the night when the darkness came alive and taught them the true nature of their hearts. Years later, as Emery, now a wise and compassionate adult, wandered the familiar streets of Ebon Hollow, he recalled that extraordinary night with reverence. The town had become a living tapestry of intertwined destinies, each citizen understanding that their shadows were not to be feared, but embraced. The curse that had once loomed over Ebon Hollow had been transformed into a blessing, a constant reminder that within every person exists a duality of light and dark, joy and sorrow, hope and regret. The legend of the living shadows spread beyond the valley, drawing visitors from faraway lands who sought to witness the phenomenon and learn its secrets. Scholars, mystics, and travelers all arrived, each leaving with a deeper understanding of the intricate dance between the seen and the unseen. And though Ebon Hollow remained a small town by many measures, its legacy became one of profound wisdom, that to truly live, one must accept every part of oneself, even the shadows that flicker at the edge of vision. In the soft glow of twilight, when the world seemed to hold its breath and the first stars emerged, one could almost hear the whispers of the shadows, a gentle, persistent reminder that even in the darkest hours, there is beauty, understanding, and the promise of a new beginning. Thus, the tale of a town where shadows come to life was etched into the annals of time, a story of transformation, redemption, and the eternal interplay of light and dark, a testament to the enduring human spirit that finds hope even in its own reflection. For as long as the people of the remote village of Ebonvale could remember, there had been talk of a river that flowed silently at the edge of the cursed moorlands. The villagers spoke in hushed tones of its origin, a tale woven with sorrow and mystery. According to lore, the river was born from the tears of a grieving deity, its waters a constant testament to every heartache ever endured. On misty evenings, when twilight surrendered to a star-strewn sky, an eerie chorus of wails and whispers could be heard emanating from the river's direction. These voices, some claimed, were the anguished cries of souls trapped between life and death, pleading for solace. Young Alaric, a sensitive dreamer with a soul burdened by personal loss, had grown up listening to these legends. He often found himself drawn to the rugged banks of the nearby creek, where the gentle burble of water mingled with the distant, mournful keening of the River of Lament. Unlike the other villagers who feared its sorrowful call, Alaric was compelled to seek answers. What if, he wondered, the river held not only the echoes of despair, but also the key to healing old wounds? And so, with a heart heavy yet hopeful, he vowed to follow its course into the unknown. One overcast morning, when the mist curled around the ancient pines like spectral fingers, Alaric set out on his quest. He packed a modest satchel with essentials, a leather-bound journal, a small compass whose needle spun mysteriously when near the river, and a faded photograph of his long-lost sister, whose absence had left an unhealed scar upon his heart. As he left Ebonvale behind, the landscape transformed from well-trodden paths and familiar fields into a wild expanse of bracken and moss. The further he walked, the more he felt the pull of something intangible. A whisper carried on the wind, urging him onward. The road soon gave way to a narrow trail that slithered through a dense forest. Here the trees stood like silent sentinels, their gnarled limbs heavy with dew. The light was dim, filtered through layers of fog, and every sound, the crunch of leaves underfoot, the distant call of a night bird, seemed amplified in the quiet solitude. Alaric's heart beat faster as he sensed that he was nearing the river's domain, a realm where the boundaries between the living and the lost blurred. After several days of arduous travel, Alaric emerged from the forest onto a windswept plain. There in the distance, he saw the River of Lament. It flowed like a ribbon of darkness, its surface rippling with an otherworldly luminescence. The water appeared almost black in the fading light, yet hints of deep blue and silver shimmered along its surface, like the scattered tears of 1,000 souls. As he approached the riverbank, a chill ran down his spine. The air was thick with an inexplicable sorrow, and faint, indistinct voices seemed to float on the breeze, as if carried from the very depths of the river. Alaric knelt at the water's edge, his reflection merging with the murky surface. He strained to listen, and in the soft susurrus of the current, he could just make out words, whispers of lost names, cries of mourning, and pleas for remembrance. In that moment, he felt the weight of all the grief that had ever been and that might still be. Though his heart ached at the sound, he also sensed that the river was offering him something, a chance to understand, to remember, and perhaps to heal. That first night by the river was unforgettable. Alaric built a small fire on the bank and settled down, the flames flickering and casting dancing shadows upon the water. As the night deepened, the wind's whisper grew into a chorus of lament. He closed his eyes and allowed the sounds to wash over him, each note a brushstroke, painting a sorrowful portrait of lost lives and forgotten dreams. In his dreams that night, Alaric was carried along the river's current. He saw apparitions of weeping figures drifting in the water, faces blurred by time, eyes filled with endless grief. Among them, he recognized his sister's gentle smile, her eyes bright with hope before a tragedy had dimmed their light. The vision was both painful and strangely comforting, as if the river had become a repository for every tear ever shed. When he awoke at dawn, his journal filled with desperate, flowing lines of verse that he could barely recall composing, a testament to the raw power of the river's cry. In the days that followed, Alaric dedicated himself to deciphering the cryptic voices of the river. Each night, he sat by the banks with his journal, recording the fleeting sounds and trying to assign meaning to each mournful syllable. He discovered that the river's voices were not random. They followed a rhythm, a cadence that spoke of ancient rituals and long-forgotten legends. Some nights, the voices would lament a singular name, while on others they would rise into a chorus of sorrow, as if the river were recounting a collective tragedy. One moonless night, as a thick fog blanketed the land, he heard a voice that stood out from the rest, a clear, plaintive tone that repeated, "Remember, never forget." The words resonated deeply within him, stirring memories of his sister and of all the moments he had desperately tried to hold on to. Determined to understand this message, Alaric sought out the village elder, a wizened woman named Maris, reputed to possess knowledge of the old ways. Maris told him that the river was believed to be the keeper of souls, an ethereal passage through which the echoes of the departed were carried across the land. It is said that the river takes the cries of those left behind, she explained in a hushed tone, and in its endless flow, it reminds the living to honor their memories. It is both a curse and a blessing, a constant reminder that nothing is ever truly lost. Her words, filled with both sorrow and wisdom, bolstered Alaric's resolve to continue his journey and to confront the full spectrum of grief that the river embodied. Deeply moved by Maris's tales, Alaric decided to perform an ancient ritual to honor the lost souls carried by the river. In a small clearing near its bank, he gathered offerings, a handful of wildflowers, a smooth stone from the river's edge, and a scrap of cloth from his sister's favorite dress. With trembling hands, he arranged the items upon a flat rock, forming a makeshift altar. As the twilight deepened and the river's lament rose once more, he recited prayers he had found in Maris's old grimoire, words that spoke of love, loss, and the eternal cycle of remembrance. The ritual was simple yet profoundly moving. As he finished the final incantation, a gust of wind swept through the clearing, stirring the water and carrying the offerings downstream. In that moment, Alaric felt an overwhelming connection to the past, a rush of emotion that left him both shattered and somehow whole. The river, it seemed, had acknowledged his tribute, and its mournful cry softened to a gentle, lulling hum, a sound like a promise that the memories of the lost would endure. Yet as the ritual ended, Alaric sensed a change in the river. Its gentle hum grew into a sorrowful wail that shook the very earth. The water churned violently, and dark shapes swirled beneath its surface. It was as if the river itself was mourning a new loss, a grief too profound to be contained. Terrified yet compelled, Alaric stepped closer to the turbulent edge. In the heart of the maelstrom, he thought he saw shadows reaching out like desperate hands, pleading silently for release. In that harrowing moment, he realized that the river was not only a keeper of memories, but also a harbinger of despair. The cries of lost souls, long carried on its currents, were building into a crescendo of anguish. With his heart pounding and eyes wide with fear, Alaric clutched his sister's photograph close to his chest. He whispered, "I remember. I will not let you be forgotten." His voice, trembling yet resolute, cut through the cacophony of sorrow. Slowly, miraculously, the raging water began to calm, and the anguished wails subsided into a mournful, steady murmur. That night, as Alaric lay in a makeshift shelter by the riverbank, sleep came unbidden, carrying him into a vivid, surreal dreamscape. In his dream, he found himself on a narrow boat drifting down the river of lament. The boat, carved from ancient wood and adorned with faded symbols, glided silently over waters that shimmered with sorrowful light. Around him, ghostly figures of lost souls drifted, each one a person whose life had been cut short by heartbreak, misfortune, or regret. The journey was both terrifying and deeply cathartic. The spectral figures whispered their stories, tales of love and betrayal, of dreams deferred and lives unfulfilled. Alaric listened, his own grief mingling with theirs, until he came upon a solitary figure seated at the prow, a woman whose eyes shone with the light of distant stars. She turned toward him and spoke in a voice that was both gentle and commanding. "To mend the broken, you must first accept the sorrow that binds you. Only then can the river's lament transform into a song of healing." In that moment, Alaric understood that the river's power lay not solely in its ability to evoke grief, but also in its capacity to guide the living toward redemption. The dream faded slowly, leaving him with a renewed sense of purpose and the resolve to honor every memory, no matter how painful. Dawn broke over the desert of rolling dunes and ancient stone, and with it, Alaric began his journey back to Ebenville. The river of lament flowed quietly beside him, a constant reminder of the voices it carried and the burdens it bore. Though his body was weary and his heart heavy, he felt transformed. The sorrow he had witnessed had etched itself into his soul, but it had also taught him the fragile beauty of remembrance and the possibility of healing through acceptance. In Ebenvale, the villagers greeted him with a mixture of awe and pity. Whispers of the man who listened to the river spread quickly, yet Alaric was determined to use his experience to bring solace to others. He began to record his journey in detailed journals, composing poems and songs that captured the melancholy majesty of the river and the enduring power of memory. Over time, his work inspired others to confront their own grief, transforming personal sorrow into a collective hymn of hope and resilience. Years passed, and Alaric's journals became treasured relics of Ebenvale, a body of work that spoke of love, loss, and the eternal struggle to remember without being consumed by sorrow. The river of lament continued to flow on the outskirts of the village, its mournful song now a familiar part of daily life. Parents would speak to their children of the river's strange magic, urging them to cherish their memories even as they learn to let go. The river, once a symbol of despair, had evolved into a reminder that every tear and every whispered prayer was a testament to the enduring human spirit. Alaric himself grew into an elder, his eyes deep with the wisdom of a man who had embraced both the darkness and the light of his past. On quiet evenings, as he sat by the river's edge and listened to its soft murmur, he would recall the faces of those lost souls and the promise that they had imparted, a promise that no memory, no matter how sorrowful, would ever truly fade away. In the gentle twilight of many autumns to come, when the sky burned with hues of amber and the wind whispered across ancient fields, the legend of the River of Lament endured. Travelers from distant lands would come to Ebenville to witness its quiet majesty and to listen to the mournful strains that rose from its depths, a song of lost souls, a hymn of healing, and a timeless reminder of life's bittersweet fragility. For in the flow of that dark river lay the echoes of every sorrow, every moment of longing, and every heart that had dared to remember. And as the river carried the cries of the lost to distant horizons, its eternal song continued to remind all who listened that even in grief there is beauty, and in every tear there is the seed of hope. Evelyn Moreau first encountered the mirror on a cold winter morning when a creaking letter arrived at her modest apartment in a bustling city. The letter, written in a delicate, looping script, informed her that she had inherited an estate from a distant relative she barely remembered. Among the belongings was a small, locked chest, which once opened, revealed the mirror. Its surface was etched with intricate, almost hypnotic patterns that seemed to ripple when touched by light. Intrigued yet apprehensive, Evelyn carried the mirror back to her new home, a grand but dust-laden mansion filled with relics of the past. In the quiet solitude of the mansion's drawing room, she hung the mirror on a wall behind an ornate velvet curtain. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Evelyn caught a fleeting glimpse of something unusual in its reflection. Not her own face, but the vague outline of a stranger in a shifting landscape that defied the room's familiar decor. With a shudder, she dismissed it as fatigue, or perhaps an overactive imagination sparked by the mansion's eerie silence. Over the next several nights, strange occurrences began to plague Evelyn's every waking moment. It started subtly. A door that should have been closed was ajar. An old portrait appeared to have shifted its gaze. But soon the disturbances grew more unsettling. While sitting before the mirror in her study one evening, Evelyn noticed that the reflection behind her did not match reality. Instead of the orderly, book-lined room, she saw a surreal version. The walls seemed to melt into swirling patterns, and the chandelier overhead flickered with an otherworldly glow. At first, she convinced herself that her eyes were deceiving her, that the mirror's tarnished surface played tricks with the light. But the phenomenon persisted. When she turned to face the mirror, the distortion only grew. An impossible landscape of twisting corridors and ghostly figures dancing in the periphery. In a moment of disquieting clarity, she realized that the mirror did not simply reflect the room in front of it. It somehow revealed a hidden world behind her, a world that defied reason and challenged the boundaries between dream and reality. Unable to ignore the increasingly bizarre events, Evelyn began to research the mirror's origins. In the mansion's dusty library, she discovered a brittle journal belonging to her great-grandmother, Genevieve Moreau. The journal recounted cryptic tales of a mirror that showed more than mere reflection. A mirror that, once awakened by sorrow and regret, would unveil a parallel world of fractured memories and altered destinies. Genevieve had written of strange nights when the mirror's surface glowed with eerie luminescence, and those who gazed upon it reported visions of landscapes that shifted like liquid, as though the mirror were a window into an alternate dimension. The journal spoke of a fabled rite of unveiling, a ritual performed on nights when the moon was full and silver, believed to grant the viewer the power to traverse the boundary between the known world and the realm behind the mirror. According to the writings, however, the journey was perilous. Those who attempted to cross over risked not only losing themselves, but also altering the fabric of reality behind them. Evelyn, whose life had been marked by loss and longing, felt a deep, inexplicable pull toward that other side. Could the mirror hold the key to understanding her own buried regrets? Was it possible that the distorted world within the glass might offer answers, or perhaps even a chance to rewrite a painful past? After weeks of sleepless nights and feverish research, Evelyn resolved to perform the rite of unveiling. On a crisp, moonlit night, she prepared a small makeshift altar in the center of her drawing room. Arranged carefully on a worn wooden table were a handful of personal relics, an old locket containing a faded photograph of her late husband, a pressed flower from the garden where they had once strolled, and a single candle whose flame she hoped would guide her through the darkness. Clad in a simple black dress and with determination etched on her face, Evelyn lit the candle. She then stood before the mirror and recited the incantation detailed in her great-grandmother's journal, a prayer meant to peel back the veil between worlds. As the final syllables left her lips, the mirror shuddered. The glass began to ripple like the surface of a disturbed pond, and the room around her seemed to fade into a blur. In that breathless moment, Evelyn's vision was overtaken by a cascade of images, a vast alien landscape where the sky burned with unnatural colors, twisted, towering structures that defied gravity, and spectral figures that moved as if in slow motion. The reflection behind her was no longer the comforting familiarity of her drawing room, but a vivid, unsettling panorama of a world that was both beguiling and terrifying. For what felt like an eternity, Evelyn stood frozen, caught between two realities. The mirror's surface shimmered and pulsed with an eerie light, beckoning her to step forward. The journal had warned her that crossing the threshold was irreversible, that once you allowed the mirror to absorb your essence, you would be forever changed. With her heart pounding and her mind a whirlwind of fear and anticipation, Evelyn took a tentative step toward the mirror. In an instant, the world around her shifted. She no longer stood in the familiar confines of her drawing room. Instead, she found herself on a narrow stone pathway, winding through an otherworldly landscape. The air was crisp and filled with the scent of damp earth and distant rain. Behind her, the portal, the mirror, had vanished, leaving her stranded in this strange, distorted realm. The landscape was surreal. The sky swirled with hues of indigo and crimson, and the horizon stretched into impossibly twisted silhouettes of trees and crumbling structures. Each step echoed in the stillness, a reminder that she had left behind the safety of her former life. Though fear gripped her, Evelyn could not help but be fascinated by the sheer beauty and melancholic majesty of the world before her. Evelyn began her journey along the winding path, each step carrying her deeper into the realm that the mirror had revealed. This world was governed by its own logic, a place where time was fluid, and memories of the past seemed to materialize in unexpected forms. Ghostly apparitions of figures from her own life, both familiar and unknown, drifted along the edges of her vision. At times, she heard echoes of laughter, whispered conversations, and sorrowful laments that seemed to emanate from the very air. As she wandered, she encountered strange, distorted versions of the natural world. A river, its waters shimmering with an ethereal light, wound its way through a forest of gnarled, twisted trees. The trees themselves appeared almost sentient, their bark etched with symbols that glowed faintly in the dim light. It was as if the memories of every life that had ever touched this land were etched into the very fabric of the landscape. In one particularly haunting scene, Evelyn reached a clearing where a small group of figures sat in silent communion around a flickering fire. Their faces were obscured by shadow, but their eyes shone with an inner light that spoke of sorrow and hope intermingled. One of the figures, a woman with hair like spun silver, turned toward Evelyn as if acknowledging her presence. "You have come," she whispered in a voice that resonated like a long-forgotten melody. "Welcome to the land of fractured memories. Here, every sorrow is a lesson, and every joy, a beacon in the darkness." The mysterious woman introduced herself as Amara, a guide for those who had crossed the threshold from the known world. Amara explained that the realm behind the mirror was a place where memories, both bitter and sweet, converge into a singular tapestry. "This world is born from the remnants of every thought, every emotion, every life that has ever been," she said softly. "It is not governed by logic, but by the heart's deepest longings." Amara took Evelyn by the hand and led her along a path lined with luminescent stones. As they walked, Amara shared stories of those who had come before, souls seeking redemption, closure, or simply the chance to understand the tapestry of their own lives. She explained that the mirror had a unique power. It did not simply distort reality, but it revealed hidden truths about the viewer's inner self. For every person who gazed into its surface, the mirror displayed a world shaped by their own memories and regrets, a reflection of the soul's unspoken desires. Amara then presented Evelyn with a small, intricately carved pendant, a gift said to protect one's identity in this fluid realm. "Keep this close," Amara advised. "It is your anchor to the world you left behind. Should you ever wish to return, let its light guide you back to your true self." Armed with Amara's guidance and the protective pendant, Evelyn journeyed deeper into the mysterious realm. The path grew increasingly surreal, the scenery shifting with the cadence of her own emotions. At times, the landscape was awash with the vibrant hues of remembered joy, a field of wildflowers that echoed the laughter of a long-lost summer. At other times, it darkened into the somber tones of regret, a desolate moor under a stormy sky where the wind seemed to weep. During one harrowing encounter, Evelyn found herself standing before a towering wall of mist. From within the swirling fog, anguished cries rose in a discordant chorus, each sound a fragment of a memory too painful to face. For a moment, she felt paralyzed by the weight of sorrow, her mind teetering on the brink of despair. But as the pendant's soft glow pulsed in her hand, she summoned the strength to confront the wall. With Amara's gentle encouragement, she stepped forward, each step forcing her to recall and accept the heartbreaks of her past, the losses, the mistakes, and the moments when hope had flickered but never died. In that pivotal moment, the wall of mist dissolved, revealing a vast reflective pool. In its still surface, Evelyn saw her face, not as she was now, but as a composite of every memory she had ever carried. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she recognized that the sorrow and beauty of her life were inextricably intertwined, each loss a testament to her resilience, and every joy a spark that had lit her darkest hours. The journey through the realm behind the mirror was not without its moments of wonder. As Evelyn traversed landscapes sculpted by memory, she began to encounter fragments of hope scattered amidst the sorrow. In a secluded grove, she discovered a mirror-like lake that reflected not the distorted world around her, but a vision of what could have been, a life filled with unburdened laughter, unspoiled love, and boundless possibility. This vision, though ephemeral, stirred something deep within her, a longing for redemption and a quiet belief that even the most fractured soul could be made whole. Evelyn spent several days in quiet contemplation by the lake, jotting down her thoughts in her journal and weaving the threads of her experience into a tapestry of introspection. With Amara's counsel echoing in her mind, she came to understand that the mirror's distortion was not an act of malice, but a reflection of the human condition, that life is a mosaic of imperfect moments, each one a stepping stone toward growth and understanding. Through her journey, Evelyn began to embrace the entirety of her past, the painful memories that had once threatened to overwhelm her, and the joyful recollections that had given her life meaning. In accepting the full spectrum of her experiences, she felt a liberation she had never known before, a release from the shackles of regret, and an opening toward a future where every memory was cherished, not as a weight, but as a guiding star. After what felt like an eternity of wandering through the realm behind the mirror, Evelyn sensed that the time had come to make a choice, to remain in this strange world of distorted memories or to attempt the journey back to the life she once knew. Standing at a crossroads, a narrow path leading toward a radiant, beckoning light, and another fading into the gentle darkness, she hesitated, knowing that the decision would define her very essence. Amara appeared once more, her serene expression filled with quiet encouragement. "The path you choose now will not erase what you have learned," she whispered. "Both worlds are woven into the fabric of your soul. To return is not to leave behind your memories, but to carry them with you into a new dawn." With a heart trembling with both fear and hope, Evelyn clutched the pendant tightly and stepped toward the radiant light. As she moved forward, the world around her shimmered, and the ethereal landscape began to dissolve like morning mist. In that final, bittersweet moment, she felt as if she were being gently lifted, her essence pulled back through the threshold of the mirror. And then, with a soft rush of wind and a fleeting burst of color, she awoke. Evelyn found herself lying in her familiar drawing room, the early light of dawn filtering through lace curtains. The mirror that had once hung on the wall was now ordinary in appearance, a simple, unassuming piece of reflective glass. Yet within its depths, she knew, lay the memories of a journey that had forever changed her. The distorted realm of the mirror had taught her that every moment, every sorrow, and every spark of joy was an integral part of who she was. In the days that followed, Evelyn began to share her story with those who would listen. She wrote essays and recorded her experiences in a series of journals that would later become a cherished manuscript for generations to come. Her tale, woven with themes of loss, hope, and the resilience of the human spirit, resonated with many who had long been burdened by regret. In quiet gatherings at the local library and intimate fireside chats in the village square, her words offered solace, a reminder that our memories, no matter how painful, are the beacons that light our path toward growth and healing. Years later, as the seasons turned and Evelyn's hair silvered with time, the legend of the mirror that distorts the world behind the viewer became a subtle but enduring part of local lore. In her twilight years, Evelyn often sat in her favorite armchair, gazing thoughtfully at the mirror that once revealed a realm of twisted memories and untold truths. Though it appeared no different from any ordinary mirror to the casual eye, those who looked into it with a knowing heart might still catch a fleeting glimpse of the distorted world that lay behind. A gentle reminder of the journey she had taken and the lessons she had learned. The mirror, like life itself, remained a symbol of impermanence and transformation. A reminder that the truths we seek are often hidden in the spaces between light and shadow. And so in every reflective surface, in every quiet moment of introspection, the echoes of that otherworldly realm endured, whispering softly that every memory, every sorrow, and every hope was forever intertwined in the tapestry of our lives.